This is Insider Interviews with Epok Advice, where we sit down with some of the industry's leaders and hear about their vision for the future. Today's guest is my good friend, Tommy Marshall, a fintech advisor, entrepreneur, investor, and longtime leader in the financial services innovation space. Tommy is currently my partner at Alphatech Partners, a strategic investment fund focused on identifying and accelerating next generation technology for the wealth and asset management industry. He also serves as Chief Revenue Officer at Sirius AI, an AI consulting firm focused on financial services, and previously co-founded MyFlock, a fintech platform designed to simplify caregiving expenses and protect older adults from financial exploitation. Tommy brings more than 25 years of fintech experience, including leadership roles at Capco and at Accenture, where we had the pleasure of working together. He also launched the Georgia Fintech Academy, a workforce development initiative that has helped over 7,000 students access fintech education and place more than 2,400 into jobs. Tommy, I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks so much for joining me.
Great to be with you. Thanks for this opportunity. And I'm excited for our conversation. It's been a blast working together again on this new project. And let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start there. Why don't you talk about Alphatech Partners from your perspective?
Yeah.
Because you are really part of who's curated the partnership, and certainly one of the main reasons why I stepped in. Share your views on the mission and what we're trying to do as a set of venture partners.
Absolutely. First, my interest in the Alphatech Partners Venture Fund really originated with just a kind of passion and deep interest around venture capital, and particularly seeing the kind of profound impact venture capital had on financial services, really going back well over 10 years plus ago. And you'll remember, Kendra, that I was deeply involved with our Fintech Innovation Lab at Accenture, which was an exciting opportunity for me to extend kind of work I've been doing with some of these earlier stage venture capital funds mainly in New York City, and then expanding that at Accenture with the Fintech Innovation Lab, where we had like NICA Partners engaged, RRE Ventures, American Express Ventures, New York Life Ventures. All these just great early stage venture firms. And then had been in a process, again, starting at Capco, but extending at Accenture, of like engaging really remarkable financial services technology founders and trying to help them grow their business, of course, get them connected with our clients that we had in the industry to help them find contracts and grow, and help those clients grow and innovate. And just really, I guess, I deepened my appreciation in that time of the role that these venture capital firms play in the space, founders. So there's been just an interest on my part of, could I have a more direct role? Could I be a part of actually creating one of these funds, growing one of these funds? And that is what has occurred here with this Alphatech Partners. Now, Alphatech, as you know, is 100% focused on wealth and asset management technology, like an area of the market that I know you and I both have a lot of passion around. And that's one thing I guess we'll talk a bit more about. But but also what's interesting is that it's what we think of as like a strategic firm, and the fact that the limited partners are also coming in not just with their capital, but also a commitment to engage these wealth management in this case, and asset management technology founders in commercial contracts with the businesses the limited partners represent. And there's been a few really just great successful firms of this nature over the last maybe 10 years. Canopy Ventures is a real standout. Baintech Ventures is a real standout. FinTop Capital is another one that have had this type of structure. So it's tested And also, I think there's just a real opportunity in this wealth and asset management space.
Yeah. Well, we obviously agree because we both signed up to be venture partners. But I think the whole concept that the exits and the sort of major opportunity for the founders is likely in collaboration with strategics as tuck-ins or as one-to-manys. That sort of thesis around let's engage from the beginning in that intent. And then the second piece, which is something that I see a lot of my travels, which is in-house innovation is becoming a huge undertaking for these firms, and
Yeah.
having an ability to get access to expertise and pre-vetted innovation ideas, can really advance the innovation agenda within the incumbent organization. So that part's been really cool. What would you say our top priority is right now, or where's your focus as a venture partner, and what are you hoping people take note of?
Well, we are in that stage that's either enviable or not enviable, depending on what you love doing, and that is the fundraising stage for the fund.
Yeah,
So we are, I think we've been fortunate, particularly through engagement from folks like you, Kendra, to really get some meaningful dialogue going with real significant, players in this wealth management space. And, our target is truly those kind of more formidable wealth and asset management firms in the marketplace
yeah,
that really see a need to be engaging the innovative technology to grow their business and make their businesses more efficient. So it's sort of a chicken egg kind of proposition, I guess, in folks that have been involved in venture capital, where at the same time you want to be procuring or curating, I should say, relationships with the remarkable founders and companies that are getting started
right.
to show the potential investors that we've got that type of exposure in the marketplace, and we're going to have the right type of pipeline to wisely invest the funds that they entrust to our care.
So when you think of strategics who might be interested in tapping into the one-to-many sort of acceleration approach of Alpha Tech venture partners, which specific role types or executive types are you hoping takes interest and sets up time with us so we can explain to them what we're doing?
Right. Typically it's a strategy leader, so chief strategy if that role exists. Several of these firms have corporate venture capital arms, and they're
Yeah.
looking to deploy some of that capital into funds like ours. Um, if there's innovation teams, that can be also another source. They're often advising those individuals on where they'd like to see more investments made. And then lastly, it's the business unit leaders who know they want to be engaging more of this innovative technology, and realizing that they're going to have an opportunity to get exposed to these areas more readily by having made an investment in this fund.
I'd really be interested in your perspective as someone that observes wealth and asset management tech so much. What do you think are the biggest shifts that we're seeing, or what do you think is meaningfully changing as it relates to that side of fintech?
Yeah. I guess I'd start with wealth in particular, where we've had this all this activity around the registered investment advisors over the last, what's it, I guess 10 years now, where there's been a lot more RAs come on the scene. There's been RAs combining with RAs. There's
Yeah.
been private equity backed entities that have been rolling up RAs in different capacities, and it's starting to feel like that whole trend is, I mean, still underway, but it's starting to kind of move into its final innings. And what's exciting about that particular element of the marketplace is now that that wave is moving in its final innings, those operators are beginning to get much, much more invested or interested in investing in technology to really unlock the efficiency that can occur by engaging in the more technology to improve, whether it's the client servicing, client acquisition, portfolio management, accessing different types of asset types, all these
Right.
really exciting things that are underway. Then, and then I guess if I jump kind of to the other end of the spectrum, which is the larger wealth providers in the marketplace, there is just a real need to reset on technology that's grown quite dogged and old over the years. And there's some very exciting new opportunities that are beginning to present themselves to make, really support that type of change and really unlock a lot of value around that change. And then an aspect of that, I guess, on both of these fronts is this whole what's artificial intelligence going to do for wealth management, and that's moving 1,000 miles an hour, it seems, and it's going to be, I think, a wise step for anybody actively participating in the market to be placing bets and getting engaged with these new innovative providers around artificial intelligence geared towards wealth.
Yeah. So I like to think of it as like we started off by automating the paper, then we did a whole bunch of point integration and capability add,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all about finding the next new bell and whistle. And now it feels like a lot of it is around getting to the information, getting to the insights, getting away from point to point integration. All right, so Sirius AI, tell us about that and how much of your time and how you're working with clients. What
Well,
is that
Tamara,
business
this
all
is
about?
another example of a bit of an Accenture reunion that's happened. So our
Yeah,
good buddy Narendra Milani, he had an opportunity to get some funding to create a new consulting firm that just focuses on AI enablement for financial services firms. And so Sanjay Oha, Abhinav Vij, who I was fortunate to do a lot of work with in the AI space back when
right.
we were at Accenture. We've kind of reunited on this and then have been fortunate to get 50, 60 of our favorite data engineers, data scientists, et cetera, out of Accenture back in Gurgaon, India. And so we're just able to really do amazing AI model development work for wealth managers, banks, payment companies, fintechs, and we've got the best of the best, and we're able to do it in a very, very affordable, value-based way. And it's been super exciting. And it's just, this tech is just moving. AI, generative AI, et cetera, particularly the automation opportunities around it are just unbelievable. And the tech moves so fast that we really feel institutions are going to greatly benefit by having a partner like us with that, helping them figure it out.
Very cool. It is a little bit like getting the band back together here, Tommy.
Yeah.
All of us that were there at Accenture and had these visions have sort of found each other out in the
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
It's been actually very rewarding to
Yeah.
reconnect, especially for me to reconnect with so many after a
Yeah.
period of time away.
Yeah. It's been neat.
So tell me, like when you think of the use cases that you are seeing in your travels or that you believe have meaningful chances of being game changers in the next 2 years, which use cases are you seeing CTOs prioritize? Which ones would you suggest they do?
I think for those sort of more smaller to mid-sized shops, which I guess in my brain I'm calculating as sort of um, uh, 10 billion assets under management up to, or I guess 40, 50, 100 billion. It's first, like, how do we unlock more time for the advisor to engage in this, conversation like we're having with
Yeah,
clients, and get all of that administrative burden off of them, away from the advisor. And I mentioned those firms specifically because my sense, or what I guess I've witnessed, is that those firms often the advisor's burdened with more administrative kind of work they have to
yeah,
do to prep for those conversations, have those conversations, etc. Whereas the firms that are quite a bit larger, they've found ways to move to offshore or other kind of models to help give the advisors that lift already to a degree. So that zone of removing manual, difficult, time-consuming tasks that are burdening the advisor from having more longer sessions with clients, more sessions with clients,
Yeah.
is a key area of focus and emphasis.
Yeah. So anything that frees up capacity for the expensive talent in the field, anything that helps collaboration and delegation and making sure things don't fall through the cracks, anything that makes better decisioning around time management or
Mm-hmm.
the advice itself. We're seeing a lot of emphasis on those the pre items, right, that go into a decision, as well as pattern spotting across so that you can do proactive solutioning or acquisition. Like there's a lot of opportunity in even in that one category of use cases. There's a lot of different opportunities there. Do you see AI as an existential threat to advice? Do you see it as a necessary building block? How do you see it playing out in a longer time period?
I see it as a just phenomenal enabler for the advisor and the advisor client relationship. And so I guess I don't see it as a threat. I guess I believe to my core that a big part of wealth management and advice is about the personal relationship, the trust,
Yeah.
the conversation, the sounding board, the let's think about this, let's think about all of that stuff, which is human to human, and it's going to be human to human, and that's not going away. So that's I think what's really exciting is like how that's going to figuring out how that's going to play a role and what that's going to look like.
We had an interesting conversation offline, you and I, this week on shifts in the way the industry is gathering to learn about innovation and to connect. And we were talking about the days, and you referenced them in your intro to those days back where it was like all about incubators and innovation labs and all the things that I think both you and I really enjoy participating in.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the shifts you're starting to feel as it relates to how that collaboration and cross pollination is taking place. You want to share a little bit about the period of time you feel like you and I both played a key role in, and then how it's shifting today and how we're trying to show up in new and different ways as a result?
If I go back 10 years ago, it was all about, I guess I'd characterize it as an innovation agenda. Everybody, it was digital first, digital enablement,
Yeah.
digital, those two were often pushed together, digital program and innovation agenda. And these, all sorts of these great entities evolved. I mean, I think the OG was Y Combinator, certainly. And, there would be Y Combinator did a good job when they got started about, not just engaging founders, but really, engaging Microsoft, engaging Google, engaging Wells Fargo. I mean, all the big players in the San Francisco area at the time. So it was very much these larger enterprises wanting exposure to the super smart, creative innovator types that were starting new companies in that market. And so then folks started to see the successes that Y Combinator was generating, and then that brought several. It just seemed like an explosion of sorts between mainly, I guess, California and New York and
Yeah.
Toronto,
Yeah.
in particular. That we were seeing more and more of these types of programs, accelerator programs. No, I think the point I was making the other day is that we're not in that place anymore. There's like an
Right.
appreciation for that time. There's a desire to find those types of interconnections still, but it's much more intimate, or the large enterprise is much more smarter, or they want to be more direct in that reach out, and there's many more vehicles to support that type of engagement. And then I think we're all wiser too around what you need to have in place as an earlier stage company to really be able to credibly support a medium-sized enterprise or a large enterprise. Both sides are wiser in that degree, and so that's leading to some newer models for that type of engagement.
Yeah, like I've really noticed this generation of founders that I interact with so regularly. Some of them are clients, some of them are investment targets for Alpha, some of them are vendors at my clients. Like they
Mhm.
are less in need of the type of thing you and I would have done in that New York Innovation Lab, which is like explain advice, explain wealth management, right? Like many of them have had successful firms already, are
Yeah.
deeply entrenched in the use cases and the issues of the industry. Many of them have a lot of credibility. And that doesn't mean they're not open for support or collaboration, but it's just a very different style of engagement from the mainstream industry and from experts.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, what are the one or two areas that you're excited the most about in terms of which parts of the wealth business?
So for me, I get excited by any innovation we see that can drive down the cost to serve. So you hit on one earlier, which is freeing up capacity and making it easier for one advisor team to serve more families effectively. I think that's really important. I do think we bias a lot of innovation to the front of the value chain. I
Mm-hmm.
get really excited by anything that takes work out of operations and takes messiness out of the middle and the back of the value chain. I get a lot of interest in the democratization and access oriented innovation. So things like making more sophisticated, more tailored strategies easier for retail investors, giving access to alts and the private markets or other
Mm-hmm.
asset classes to retail investors. Like these things I find very interesting. Anything that improves solutioning, so the ability to work with in-house or out-of-house experts. I mean, things that I know advisors really, really care about, right? They want to have the best in class experts to serve their clients. They can't be knowers of everything, and everything we can do around client solutioning and value proposition at scale, I think is also really exciting. And then, yeah, like for me, getting to that wealth digital 3.0, right? Like if we thought of the early stages, like I said, is just like let's automate the paper, and then it became all about building the best in class portal, of which there's been many generations of those. This
Mm-hmm.
idea of embedded and contextualized and informed digital experiences for customers and advisors and home office employees, I find very exciting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it really is some interesting things. Yeah, as you were talking, I started thinking about like who are these digitally native leaders in the wealth space? Like I was thinking from a retail standpoint,
Yeah.
that are maybe blazing trails, um, and setting a tone of conversation, maybe workplace is the way to say that. I mean, one that comes to mind for me is Robinhood, which
Yeah.
is a firm that, I mean, I guess I admire in terms of their innovative nature, but they also annoy me because I think they're reckless. Um, so I guess I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Robinhood, I guess, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But they move incredibly fast. Um, and they, do some stuff that I think is kind of silly and reckless, like all this trendy, and trying to increase the amount of trading on behalf of folks on certain, silly sort of trends that are obviously massively high risk investments people shouldn't be making, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But I'm wondering, like, what's one is what do you think of them, or is there sort of a North Star of sorts that you think kind of dominates the imagination in this space today?
Yeah. So, like, I'll use an example of a direct to consumer disruptor that I don't find reckless, like a Wealth Simple up in Canada, where I
Mhm.
feel like they have been very thoughtful and they're failed fast to still not been reckless. It's involved trial and error on a few fronts and some really innovative ideas, and certainly they're being noticed and getting major traction. Like their success is now no longer up for debate. I also I also really appreciate what some of the incumbents are doing. Like I feel like one of the greatest things about innovation in the broad U.S. and Canadian market is that not everyone is going to me too every piece of what they see, but once they see it, they know that it's possible and they can pick pieces of it that suit. So where I get excited is where I start to see the barriers break down within universal banks with really strong wealth and asset management businesses, or within wirehouses that haven't really cracked that sort of more unified experience. But certainly for me, there's been a lot of proof points from those disruptor brands. So while they may not be the ones that end up, with the largest share wallet and the largest book, they will certainly have played a meaningful role in breaking the dam and making sure people don't stagnate or deal with too much inertia. Like there's no longer anyone standing still, which is, I think, what makes me most excited. Let's talk a little bit about Atlanta, your role in Georgia, why it's such a cool place to be for a fintech leader like yourself, and the work that you're doing to make it accessible for people to be part of our industry.
Yeah, thanks. Atlanta is a place I didn't honestly expect to end up in. I mean, most of my professional career has kind of been driven out of clients in New York City and San Francisco and Toronto and Chicago, which are all very accessible from Atlanta thanks to our having the biggest airport in the world. But as and I've been here 15 years now, and when I got here, I mean, I was a consultant, I was on the plane all the
Yeah.
time, but it always annoyed me I wasn't more involved in my own community in a deeper way. So, over time that began to happen, and Atlanta's interesting. It's known probably best in fintech financial services as a payments hub,
Yeah.
and that has to do with some kind of old history of the Federal Reserve System in the U.S. and the Atlanta Fed's role in managing ACH payments
Yeah.
and government payments. So
Right.
it's not today, but there still is a ton of automated clearinghouse transactions that move through the Fed. But as a result, a lot of different banks and payment entities were attracted to this town. And then over the years, it's kind of become a very significant player. And then what's been interesting as Atlanta's evolved over the last 15 years is how it's attracted kind of a bit of a really big asset management and to a degree wealth set of clientele as well. So like BlackRock, for example,
Yeah.
their third largest office is now in Atlanta, and they run their innovation program for Aladdin, which is sort of their software they offer to the asset management space. Their software business is run out of Atlanta. Invesco is
Another
headquartered in
great
Atlanta
one.
now, and that's they bought Oppenheimer years ago. And then notably, and most people don't know this, but there's a company called Intercontinental Exchange, which was born here and is here, and it owns most trading exchanges in the world. So the New York Stock Exchange is owned by ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, headquartered in Atlanta. So, we like to
Got to
remind
clarify with ICE these days.
we like, yeah, exactly, yeah, good point. So the point there is just it's gotten to be quite diverse from a financial services standpoint, and then very much of a kind of techie ops sort of supporting factor in the community. So anyway, about I guess 7 years ago, myself and a handful of others, we were all struggling or seeing our colleagues struggle to find talent
Yeah.
that understood financial services technology, particularly talent with regards to women and Black African Americans in our industry, and so we we kind of lobbied the governor, and we have a huge university system in Georgia called the University System of Georgia. And we got them excited about supporting us in creating a program that would create courses and job opportunities, internship opportunities, project opportunities directly with the industry here in Georgia. And so in 2020, we just are celebrating our 5-year anniversary. We started the Georgia Fintech Academy, and I was lucky to be the first executive director. And we got phenomenal industry support. We got
It's
over, I think,
awesome.
$2 million from FIS, Visa, close to $1 million, US Bank, Elavon, similar amounts, ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, as I mentioned, Truist, big super regional bank out of
Mm.
Atlanta, been supportive, and many, many, many more. And so these firms are not only providing capital to help us, manage the program, but they also create internship opportunities, and we do a lot of projects, semester projects for these companies as well, where the students, are doing projects. So yeah, we're to a point now that we've addressed 10,000
10,000. I said
undergraduate students.
7,000
Yeah,
in my.
I
I'm
told you
behind.
that was I think a year and a half old figure. I shouldn't have updated that.
Okay.
The
Okay.
but yeah,
10,000 is better.
we
That's
just
awesome.
crossed over 10,000 when we ended this semester that ended last month, and we've delivered on our goal of not only getting more students understanding what it is our industry is about, but 45% of the students are women, and more than half are Black.
Right.
So it's been a really rich and great way for all students to just really get involved with the industry in meaningful ways.
And I'm sure you found that really rewarding. What's been the best part?
Well, just hanging out with the students is my favorite.
That's how
I
I feel.
mean,
I'm like, I love young people.
yeah, they're just like super energetic. They're like,
Yeah.
they're genuinely interested. It's fun. You forget, of course, how much just
I
having been
know.
doing this for like 25
We
years.
are
So,
seasoned. We are seasoned
and
players now,
so,
Tommy.
they'll ask questions. I'm like, oh my God, I actually know the answer to this question. And I
I
can
was actually
explain it for
there.
like what's happened over the last 10 years. So I don't know that it's truly useful to them, but in the moment you were like, wow, man, I'm really on this today.
Yeah.
What's going
Yeah.
on? So that's fun. And then of course helping them find jobs is fun because
Yeah.
they're advancing their lives in that way. And then there's also intangibles of just having a good reason to stay in touch with all my buddies in the industry,
Right.
which is also, and seeing them get involved and get excited, or just having more reasons to get together and talk about what's going on. And
So, what do you want to inspire or to encourage the industry to focus on next when you think about what matters most to the average American or to invested Americans or to people in general? Why do you think our industry matters and what do you think leaders in the industry should focus on next?
I think we've got, as an industry, I think we're amazing as an industry. I think we really help people have safer, more productive, fulfilling lives. And I guess what pains me, particularly, I know the U.S. better than I know Canada, but when I look at all the information about the U.S., it just pains me that the average American can't sustain a $600, $700 emergency expenditure.
Yeah.
Um, and the average American really has only enough retirement savings for a couple of years. And Social Security, and there's a realization that our Social Security system can't cover, of all the core basic expenses and whatnot. So what do we do great as an industry is help people plan, save, stay disciplined towards those types of goals.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we break through that? How can we make this somehow more accessible, more available, And that to me is the challenge that we're all trying to figure out. And I know there's a way to do that profitably and have great businesses built around serving those needs. So I think technology, quite honestly, plays a very valuable role in solving that challenge.
Yeah, to make it accessible and meaningful and scalable and still profitable, I
Yeah.
think is the challenge. So, if someone wants to get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing at Sirius AI or with Alpha Tech Partners
Yeah.
or just in general with your work in the state of Georgia, how do they find you?
I'm extremely active on LinkedIn. So Tommy Marshall is my handle. I got on LinkedIn like when it started. I think so. So
Early
like,
adopters.
yeah,
Well, listen, Tommy, it was so awesome having you today and sharing. I feel like it's been one of the coolest things this year for us to be reconnecting and
yeah,
working together again. We had so much fun at Accenture, and here we are finding each other again to do all the things we wanted to do. But this time, at least for me, it doesn't have to be side of desk anymore.
yeah. Thank you. I love it. Thanks.
It was so great catching up with Tommy Marshall and a real reminder of the many people from my Accenture days that I've had the pleasure of working with again now that I've launched Epok Advice. The VC and wealth tech space is a community, and we need each other to innovate and collaborate and to have fun while modernizing advice. If this is something you'd like to be part of, we should talk.